You can repeat the affirmation 100 times. You can write the desire on paper every morning. You can visualize the scene until it feels real in your head. And yet, nothing changes. The message you're waiting for never comes. The opportunity stays out of reach. Life just echoes back silence. That's when the frustration hits. This quiet, almost humiliating question. If I'm doing everything right, why isn't it working? Here's the truth that almost no one tells you. The quantum field doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't care about how perfectly you script your reality or how convincingly you talk about alignment. It listens to your frequency. And frequency isn't sound, it's state. Think of yourself as a transmitter. Every emotion, every micro thought, every contraction or openness in your body is broadcasting. Not in a poetic sense, but literally. Your nervous system, heart rhythm, and brain waves are signaling patterns into the field. You say, I'm abundant, but inside, your body still flinches when you open your bank app. You whisper, I'm loved, but your chest tightens with the fear of being left unseen. The field doesn't hear your sentences. It mirrors the vibration you embody. This is why so many people burn out on manifestation techniques. They speak what they want, while being the opposite frequency. The words float, but the signal is scrambled. In this script, we'll peel back that hidden layer, not through more positive thinking, but by understanding how the quantum field actually reads you. Because when you stop trying to convince reality with language and start transmitting coherence through your state, everything shifts without the chase. It's not mystical. It's physics dressed as feeling. And once you sense how it works, you'll never waste energy on empty affirmations again. Now let's decode how your frequency really speaks to the field. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You smile, it smiles. You frown, it frowns. The mirror doesn't care what words you speak. It only reflects what you are. That's how the quantum field operates. It's not an external force to convince. It's a reflective field of information responding to coherence, not commands. Here's the mechanism most people miss. Every cell in your body emits a tiny electromagnetic signature. Together, those signatures form a pattern, your energetic broadcast. The heart and brain are the two main transmitters. When they're in coherence, when emotion and thought harmonize, the field receives a clean, steady signal. But when you say one thing and feel another, the signal becomes fragmented. Think of it like tuning a radio. The station you want, love, abundance, ease, is already broadcasting. But if your dial is slightly off frequency, all you hear is static. Most people try to shout over the static, repeating affirmations, visualizing harder, instead of tuning. That tuning isn't mental, it's embodied. The subconscious, the bridge between mind and field, speaks through sensation, rhythm, and feeling tone. Your conscious thoughts are the subtitles. The frequency is the movie itself. When you say, I am safe, but your breath is shallow, your shoulders tense, and your gut clenches, the field doesn't register safety. It registers contraction, a signal of lack. The words mean nothing if the transmitter is jammed. That's why transformation begins, not with mental control, but with awareness of your state. Frequency is the language of the body. You can't fake it, but you can tune it. And that tuning begins by aligning thought, emotion, and physiology into one vibration. When the body relaxes into belief, not the belief in the head, but the felt truth of it's already done, coherence emerges. The mirror starts to move. This is not wishful thinking. The HeartMath Institute, for instance, has shown that heart-brain synchronization changes electromagnetic output and influences information fields beyond the body. You don't manifest by saying. You manifest by becoming a resonant pattern. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop performing for the field, you start syncing with it. But what if I told you that almost everything people are taught about raising vibration is actually pushing it further out of reach? The biggest myth in manifestation circles is that feeling good all the time is the goal. That if you can just stay high vibe, everything you want will magnetically appear. It sounds nice, but it quietly traps you, because the very effort to stay positive creates resistance. Here's the catch. Forcing a frequency isn't alignment. It's denial dressed as discipline. The quantum field doesn't reward your effort to fake a feeling. It mirrors the truth of your internal state, even if that truth is messy. Let me show you through a simple moment we've all lived. You're waiting for a text. You already know which one. The reply that means you matter, that the story isn't over. You try to stay calm, but your stomach's tight. You open Instagram, post something light, something that says, I'm fine. But underneath, you're checking the clock every few minutes. You say to yourself, I'm detached, I'm aligned. Yet your body keeps scanning the silence for confirmation. That's not wrong. It's just incoherent. The signal you're sending is split, your mind broadcasting, I'm free, while your body whispers, I'm waiting. The field reads the whisper, not the words. True alignment begins when you stop performing for the universe and start acknowledging what's actually here. Because the moment you meet your energy honestly, it starts to shift. Emotional authenticity recalibrates your frequency faster than any affirmation ever could. So if your chest feels heavy, you don't force lightness. You breathe into the heaviness. You let the body metabolize what it's holding until it naturally softens. That's how you tune, not force. The mirror can't reflect what you pretend to be. It can only reflect what you're willing to embody, even when that embodiment begins with truth, not perfection. When you start to relate to your feelings as information, not obstacles, the whole manifestation process flips. Your sensations stop being blocks and start being your compass. But there's another layer people rarely talk about, the way your nervous system decides which frequencies are even safe to hold. Because until your body feels safe to receive what you're asking for, it will unconsciously repel it, no matter how much you affirm otherwise. Here's what almost no one connects. Manifestation isn't just energetic, it's neurobiological. Your nervous system is the switchboard between thought and field. It decides which frequencies your body can actually sustain. If abundance feels unsafe, your body will downregulate it. If love feels dangerous, it will subtly shut down your heart's broadcast. The field doesn't block you. Your own wiring does, trying to protect you. Think about it. If you've spent years in survival mode, checking bills, bracing for disappointment, scanning for rejection, your body has learned a pattern of vigilance. That vigilance becomes your baseline frequency. The quantum mirror keeps reflecting the same version of reality, not because you're failing, but because your system is prioritizing safety over expansion. This is why regulating your nervous system is not a side practice. It's the gateway to coherence. When your body feels safe, your signal stabilizes. When it stabilizes, the field can finally synchronize with it. Here's a short guided reset. About 30 seconds that begin to realign your frequency. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through your nose, like you're sipping air through a straw. Exhale softly, longer than your inhale. Let your shoulders drop. Feel gravity, the weight of your body supported by the surface beneath you. Now gently bring to mind something simple that makes you feel safe. Sunlight on your skin, a pet sleeping nearby, the rhythm of ocean waves. Let that image anchor in your chest. Notice the subtle warmth spreading there. That's coherence forming. When your heart and breath sync in this way, your electromagnetic field expands and smooths. You're not doing manifestation. You're becoming the resonance that reality can mirror. This is also why the old fake it till you make it approach backfires. Your system senses falseness as threat. Coherence isn't pretending confidence. It's teaching your body safety so your frequency can rise naturally. As you practice this daily, even a minute at a time, you start to notice something profound. Circumstances respond differently. Conversations feel easier. Opportunities flow with less push. It's not luck. It's coherence turning into magnetism. But the real transformation begins when we stop treating manifested moments as temporary peaks and start shifting the identity of the one broadcasting the signal itself. Most people chase states, the high after a meditation, the peace after a breathwork session, the confidence after a great day. But states are temporary. They flicker. You feel tuned for a moment, then the next morning, doubt creeps back in. That's because the body hasn't become the frequency yet. It only visited it. The quantum field doesn't respond to fleeting moments of clarity. It reflects your dominant identity. Who you believe yourself to be at baseline. That's the real signal. You can enter a beautiful meditative state and feel abundance flowing through you. But if, deep down, you still identify as the person who struggles, who must prove, who's never quite chosen, that's the frequency that persists when the music stops. Identity is frequency solidified. It's the emotional memory your body keeps returning to. Here's the subtle truth. You don't attract what you desire. You stabilize into the version of you that already lives in that reality. Let's say someone's manifesting financial freedom. They visualize it, script it, feel it. But every time they pay a bill, they tighten. That contraction is identity speaking. I'm the one who barely gets by. Until that story dissolves in the nervous system, the mirror has no new image to reflect. Shifting identity isn't done by repeating new labels. I'm abundant. I'm magnetic. It happens when your body learns the felt safety of being that person. It's when abundance stops feeling like a fantasy and starts feeling like home. That's why embodiment work is so powerful. Every time you anchor safety, breathe through resistance, and act from grounded truth, you're teaching your system a new baseline. Not a temporary high, but a new self. When the old you starts to fade, reality reorganizes to match the upgraded pattern. It's not magic, it's coherence stabilizing as personality. And here's where it gets truly wild. Once identity shifts, you don't just change how you feel inside. You begin to tune into entirely different timelines, different sequences of events that exist within the quantum field, waiting for your resonance to lock in. Because the field doesn't hand you your desires one by one, it hands you the version of reality that already matches your signature. And when you understand how identity selects the timeline, everything you thought about manifestation transforms completely. Every possible version of you already exists, not as fantasy, but as parallel patterns within the field. Each one radiates a distinct signature, a precise blend of emotion, belief, and embodiment. You don't create a new reality. You tune into one that's already vibrating in harmony with your current identity. That's why when you change your internal frequency, life reorganizes so quickly it almost feels eerie. People call it coincidence, luck, or divine timing. But what's actually happening is resonance alignment. The quantum mirror isn't slow. It's instantaneous. It's just that most of us take time to believe we've shifted. Picture it like walking through radio stations of reality. The version of you that still doubts, still over-explains, still worries about how, that version is tuned to one timeline. The version that acts from calm certainty, grounded worth, embodied knowing, that's another. The signal you stabilize in your body decides which broadcast you receive. Here's a simple scenario. You're preparing for a job interview. One version of you wakes up nervous, replays every possible failure, and over-rehearses answers. Another version wakes up steady, centered, feeling like they're bringing value rather than begging for approval. Both people walk into the same building, but they don't walk into the same timeline. The field will match the energy they bring. Different outcomes, different synchronicities, different reflections. The leap between timelines isn't about time. It's about state. You don't wait for the future to arrive. You shift into the frequency of that version now. That's why so many transformations appear sudden, because the person finally stabilized the identity their desire required. And the best part? You don't have to believe in quantum physics to use it. You just have to start acting, breathing, and moving like the reality you're tuning into already exists. Because it does. Every time you choose calm over chaos, honesty over pretending, embodiment over effort, you're flicking the dial toward coherence. But how do you rehearse this identity in a way your body actually trusts? How do you bridge between the version that knows and the part that still doubts? That's where tools come in. Not just mindset shifts, but tangible, somatic techniques that make the new frequency stick in your cells. You can't think your way into a new identity, but you can train your body to live there. Rehearsal is how frequency becomes familiar, and familiarity is what the nervous system trusts. Let's start with bridge statements. They're small shifts in language that make big energetic differences. Instead of jumping from "I'm broke" to "I'm wealthy," which your body rejects as false, you say, "I'm learning how to feel safe with more." That one phrase tells your system, this is a process, not a threat. Bridge statements build resonance between where you are and where you're going. Next, somatic anchors. Pick one physical gesture, maybe placing a hand on your heart or grounding your feet into the floor, that you pair with the emotion of your desired state. Every time you feel that embodied calm, that quiet power, lock it in with the gesture. Over time, the gesture becomes a frequency shortcut. You're teaching your body, this is home. Then, emotional rehearsal. Not forced visualization, sensory immersion. Close your eyes and feel your future self's physiology. How does their breath move? How do they walk into a room? What does their energy feel like in their skin? Let your body rehearse being that version, not just imagine it. This is how athletes, performers, and even astronauts prepare, through neural and emotional simulation. Finally, coherence breathing. Inhale to a count of 5, exhale to 5. Breathe as if your heart is doing the thinking. While you breathe, recall one genuine moment of gratitude. Not a concept, a memory that makes your chest expand. That emotional charge synchronizes your brain and heart, amplifying your field. These tools work because they bypass mental resistance and speak in the language the quantum field actually understands: embodied frequency. Practice them not as rituals to make something happen, but as rehearsals of truth. You're not summoning your desires, you're remembering who you already are. And if you've ever noticed that the moment you stop gripping so hard, what you wanted finally shows up. That's why. Have you noticed it? Tell me your story in the comments. It might unlock someone else's leap. Still, even with all this alignment, most people stumble on the same hidden traps that fracture their signal without realizing it. The good news? Once you see them, they lose their power completely. Even when you start tuning your frequency, there are 3 quiet saboteurs that can scramble the signal: urgency, split intention, and control. They're subtle. They disguise themselves as effort, discipline, or clarity, but underneath, they're still broadcasting fear. Urgency is the first one. That tight, when will it happen, feeling that sits in your chest. It pretends to be motivation, but energetically, it's resistance. The message beneath it is, I don't have it yet. And because the quantum field mirrors what is, not what's missing, it keeps echoing that same state of lack. The antidote isn't indifference, it's trust. When you catch urgency rising, slow your breath and whisper to yourself, it's unfolding now, not later, now. That phrase doesn't make time move faster. It moves you into the frequency where time bends. Then there's split signaling, when part of you believes, but another part quietly doubts. One part says, I'm ready for love, while another says, love hurts. Or, I want abundance, while another mutters, people like me never get lucky. These internal contradictions create interference patterns in your field. The solution isn't to suppress the doubt, it's to bring both voices into coherence. Place a hand on your heart and tell the doubting part, you're safe with more now. When every part of you feels included, the static clears. The third trap is control, the impulse to micromanage the how and when. Control narrows your frequency into tension. The mirror reflects that contraction as delay. Surrender, on the other hand, is not passive, it's precision. It says, I've broadcasted clearly. Now I let the field arrange it in ways I can't predict. You hold the intention lightly, like a song humming in the background, not a command shouted into static. When you start to recognize these 3 patterns, something shifts. You stop fighting the field and start dancing with it. The process becomes responsive, playful, alive. You begin to feel when your signal is clear, a sense of effortless calm that hums under everything. And that's when manifestation leaves the realm of ritual and becomes your natural way of moving through the world. It's no longer something you do, it's how you exist. The next layer is weaving that coherence into every ordinary moment, while walking, eating, working, speaking, until life itself becomes your meditation. This is where everything becomes real. Because true manifestation isn't what you do in the quiet moments of meditation. It's how you carry that frequency when life gets loud again. Imagine this. You're making breakfast. The pan sizzles, your phone buzzes, your mind starts racing through to-dos. Most people slip back into autopilot here, thinking, bracing, rushing. But if you pause just long enough to feel your breath, to notice your body as part of the field, something shifts. You start realizing that coherence isn't a state you enter. It's a rhythm you can live in. Walking becomes a broadcast. Each step anchors the frequency you're rehearsing. You feel your feet meeting the ground, not as pressure, but as communication. The field is listening, not to what you say you believe, but to the steadiness of how you move. Eating becomes tuning. Instead of shoving food between tasks, you slow down, taste it fully. Gratitude saturates your system, and gratitude is one of the most harmonizing frequencies there is. It's coherence disguised as pleasure. Even conversations transform. When someone projects fear or judgment, instead of matching it, you breathe and stay regulated. You realize you don't have to fix energy. Your calm recalibrates the room by itself. This is how coherence ripples, silently, consistently. You also start noticing synchronicities, parking spots opening, messages arriving at the perfect time, strangers offering help without you asking. These aren't miracles. They're mirrors showing that your field has become clear enough to reflect alignment quickly. And perhaps the most beautiful part, daily life becomes feedback, not failure. Every irritation, delay, or trigger stops being proof that it's not working. It becomes a signal check. Where did my frequency wobble? You breathe, retune, and continue. When you integrate coherence this way, the boundary between practice and life dissolves. You're no longer switching between manifesting and living. You're transmitting constantly, effortlessly. And then a quiet moment arrives. Maybe you're washing your hands, looking out a window, or just standing in line, and you feel it, the click, the sense that reality is soft again, responsive, listening. You realize the field has been responding all along. But there's one more expansion. When this embodied coherence starts shaping not just your inner world, but your outer creations, your relationships, your health, even your sense of purpose. And that's where the field reveals its true intelligence. When your frequency stabilizes, it doesn't just change isolated events, it reorganizes everything. Relationships, creativity, health, and even your sense of direction start syncing to the same coherent pulse. Let's start with connection. When your heart field is regulated, people feel it before you speak. Conversations deepen. You stop performing, and others relax around you because they're feeling your safety signal. That's what chemistry really is. Coherence between nervous systems. When your energy says, "I'm safe to connect," the mirror of reality answers with people who meet you there. Then comes creativity. The same field that reflects your emotional tone also carries information. When you're coherent, inspiration downloads faster. You don't think ideas, you catch them. The more you stay open, the more the field flows through you as creative intelligence. Artists describe this as channeling. Scientists call it insight. Either way, coherence is the bridge, and the body follows suit. As stress reduces, your immune, endocrine, and digestive systems start syncing to that calm frequency. You literally become more efficient at healing and regeneration because coherence optimizes energy flow. Manifestation becomes cellular, health as harmony. Let's ground this with one last scenario. You're in the middle of a health challenge, fatigue, pain, uncertainty. Instead of fighting your body, you pause and tune in. You breathe into the area that hurts, not to fix it, but to include it in your field of safety. You begin to whisper internally, "This part of me is allowed to heal." Over time, that phrase becomes truth. Your cells start matching the new broadcast, safety instead of fear. And the healing that once felt impossible starts expressing itself through the intelligence of the field, from inside out. Purpose also transforms. When your signal clears, you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start sensing, "What wants to move through me?" You realize purpose isn't chosen, it's received. It's the natural consequence of coherence interacting with opportunity. Life begins to feel choreographed, not by control, but by resonance. Every encounter, every delay, every spark of intuition becomes part of a larger feedback dance between you and the field. And yet beyond all these tangible shifts, there's one final layer, the spiritual one. The realization that you are not just influencing the field, you are the field, localized into a point of awareness, remembering itself. That's the ultimate coherence. There's a moment on this path when the line between me and the field disappears. You realize you were never trying to get the universe to listen. You are the universe listening to itself through the shape of your experience. That's the leap most people fear because it dissolves control completely. The ego loses its favorite game, chasing outcomes. But what's left is infinitely more peaceful. Participation. You stop being a separate observer trying to bend reality and become the consciousness generating it in real time. When you reach this awareness, manifestation becomes a dialogue, not a demand. You're not saying, "I want this," but rather, "Show me what I'm already vibrating as." The field replies instantly, through synchronicities, sensations, and spontaneous clarity. Life starts communicating through symbols instead of struggle. This is where surrender reveals its true meaning. It's not giving up. It's giving over, allowing a higher coherence to move through you. Paradoxically, that surrender is the highest form of power because resistance consumes energy, but openness multiplies it. Here's what's wild. When you stop needing proof, proof floods in. When you no longer grasp at signs, signs surround you. You begin to sense that reality was never testing you. It was training your vibration to sustain more love, more flow, more truth. And from this place, gratitude stops being a technique and becomes your resting frequency. You thank life not because you got what you wanted, but because you see what it was always doing for you, sculpting coherence through contrast. That's when the observer effect transforms into embodiment. You're not watching particles rearrange, you're being the pattern that directs them. Every breath, every thought, Every beat of your heart becomes a creative act. At this level, you start recognizing others as extensions of the same field, different expressions of the same awareness. Compassion deepens naturally because judgment fragments coherence, but understanding unifies it. So the question isn't, how do I manifest faster anymore? It becomes, how can I embody more truth, more safety, more resonance? Because the closer you move to coherence, the less separation there is between thought and form. And when that union stabilizes, something even greater opens, not just your desires reflecting back to you, but the realization that you are the mirror itself, shaping reality with every coherent breath. Still, we need to bring it home, to ground all of this cosmic understanding into one final living image you can carry everywhere you go. Picture yourself standing before the mirror again, the one that reflects not your face, but your frequency. You're no longer speaking affirmations at it, begging it to change. You're just being, and it reflects that being instantly. No delay, no distortion, just clarity. You breathe, and the mirror breathes back.
You smile, and the world softens in response. That's the quantum field, not a mystical force far away, but a perfect reflection of your embodied state, shimmering through every moment of your life. Now you understand what it's been waiting for all along. Not your words, not your rituals, your coherence, your willingness to feel safe enough to become what you were asking for. Every emotion that once felt like a setback, the frustration, the fear, the waiting, was never blocking you.
It was guiding you back into alignment, teaching you the language of vibration, teaching you to trust what can't be seen before it can be proven. When you start living like this, manifestation stops feeling like magic and starts feeling like muscle memory. You move and reality moves with you. You relax and it rearranges. You're no longer a separate mind commanding the universe. You're the field itself, expressing through form. And the secret? It was never about making the field hear you. It was about remembering that it already was you, echoing your every heartbeat, matching your every frequency, waiting for you to tune clear enough to see the reflection. The mirror never lied. It only waited for you to stop pretending. Have you ever felt that exact moment? When you stopped trying, and suddenly everything aligned? Tell me in the comments. Your story might help someone else remember who they really are. Because the field is still listening. Always has been. And now it finally sounds like you.